Okay, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Gary Harper.
I'm Colin Stanton.
Once again, filling in for Susan, who does remain on maternity leave.
But this is probably the last day of that.
Yeah, so
she's back Monday.
She is supposed to be coming back. So you're fired, I guess, Colin.
Yeah, I guess so.
You did a good job though filling in, as I've said several times in other podcasts. For viewers, or I should say listeners who can't see us, let me just say, we're down and out with purple today.
Yeah, we went heavily purple.
I sent an email saying wear purple. Apparently, you got it.
I guess so. Yeah.
I walked in today. A lot of people. I don't know why.
I don't know.
It's a purple day.
A Prince kind of day. I don't know.
Remember yesterday I came in. I thought the shirt that I bought was purple. It turns out it's light blue.
And we were arguing all day.
Yes.
Light blue, periwinkle, lavender.
It's funny because when I would go into the washroom, it was clearly lavender, but in the newsroom, it was light blue.
Nice.
So maybe I got two shirts for one.
Could be.
You know, who knows? Hey, listen, we're talking about vacations, and you took a vacation not long ago that I'm very jealous of, Ireland. When did you go there?
Well, I stopped through Ireland, ended up spending the time in London, Berlin, and Paris.
Okay. I thought you stayed in Ireland, though, at one time.
No. Had a flight that went through it.
Okay, all right.
But
how was the overseas trip?
It was fabulous. It was amazing. It was a gift for my youngest, graduated high school.
Favorite?
So it was me and him and his older brother.
Favorite city?
I mean, London's almost unbeatable, but really love Berlin.
Really?
I hadn't been to Berlin before. Berlin was pretty amazing. But London is just, I mean, you could spend 3 months in London and never get bored or repetitive. It's an incredible city.
How do the London people like Americans over there?
They're fine.
They're fine?
Yeah. I've mostly found as long as you're not loud and obnoxious, they're great with you.
So they probably
you see other American tourists there, and you realize why we may not have the best reputation.
Yeah.
But if you're decent.
How many times does somebody say, "Oh, are you from America"?
No, they see you coming.
They do?
Why? They can tell.
With what you wear?
What you wear, and they can hear you before you come around a corner, generally.
Oh, my goodness.
But everyone knows.
Interesting. When did you go? What time of year?
Well, it was summer because it was involved my son who was between high school and college. So we needed to do it during peak season because that's when he was free.
You know, I really want to go to Ireland one day. I mean, that's my roots right there, man.
Yeah.
A little Irish blood. So I do need to get over there sometime. There's a good time to go, and there's a bad time to go, and that same holds true for traveling here in the U.S. So we got the man here today, the expert Steve Builday. He's the director of travel for AARP. Hello there, Steve. How you doing, sir?
Glad to be here. Sorry, I'm not in purple next time.
You know,
it's okay.
We expect you to be on the same page with us, so we'll let it slide this time. You still look good. Thanks very much for being with us. Hey, being director of travel for AARP, you must have all kinds of really good hookups and crazy travel destinations. Have you been anywhere recently?
You know, recently, given family responsibilities here at home, it's been lots of domestic short weekend road trips. But listen, the fall's a great time for the Great American Road Trip, so that's not a bad thing. And I get to hear about all the adventures our members have. I mean, AARP has 37 million members. They're out there traveling and taking fantastic cruises and domestic and international flights. River cruise is huge now. So I get to hear all about it.
Yeah, you're right about the river cruising. I've heard so much about that, but I'm still kind of like the big boat guy. You know, I don't know if I really want to be cruising the river, but I mean, listen, there's something for everybody.
I like a good hotel, but
that's me. Yeah, you're right about that. It's probably a little cheaper too.
Probably, yeah.
But hey, listen, we're talking about traveling in the off season, Steve, and there's a lot of perks when it comes to traveling in the off season. So right out of the gate, when is the off season?
I'm going to tell you the off season is when back to school starts, all the way through the winter time, excepting the holidays, right? You can imagine that it's still going to be expensive to travel Thanksgiving weekend. It's still going to be New Year's, Christmas. Those times of year are still going to be expensive. But if you think of once back to school kicks in, the crowds are less, the flights are cheaper, the destinations aren't as crowded, that's the off season.
All right, so we're talking June, July, August, September. October and then November comes, you might want to think twice about it. December as well, I would imagine, because everyone's flying to see family. And what about like January and February?
Certainly. I mean, I think that the caveat to all of this is it's destination specific. To me, the off season, the kids are back in school. It's the travel shoulder season. You hear that phrase as you read about fall travel. So that's the off season, and prices are going to be cheaper, with a caveat. If you're taking a road trip for a long weekend and you're hoping to see fall foliage, depending on where in the country you are or are headed, but that's the big draw that time of year, then it might not really be the off season right then. If you are going to a destination that has a huge event, it's their fall festival, it's homecoming weekend, it's college football in the town you're headed to, it's not going to be the off season. So the key is making sure you're aware of what's going on, where you're headed, because it can really inform prices. And that's a big differentiator between this and, let's say, the summertime when everything is busy. You can find deals in the fall, you can find deals in the winter, as long as you're cautious to avoid specific events.
Are there a lot of places that are better in the off season where there are, not just less crowding, but maybe the weather's is more appealing than it is during the summer, or there are events, like if you go to Germany in the winter, you're going to get the winter markets. Are there a lot of options there people should look at?
You bet. And one of the really popular ones in the off season, and we're heading into that time of year right now, for the American consumer, Cancun is huge. Nothing wrong with Cancun. I wouldn't want to go there in July and August, but I bet in November and December it feels pretty nice.
Yeah, that's funny. I just went down to Mexico last month, and someone said, "You're going to Mexico in August?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they've got something called a beach there, so it can't be that bad." But oh my goodness, was it hot? I could never cool off, even with the beach right there in front of me. So you've got to plan ahead. You got to know what the weather is during the off season, whether it's hot or cold. During the off season, I guess obviously less crowded. What are some of the other perks traveling in those months that you mentioned earlier?
I'm going to go right off the top, and this is where a lot of people's ears perk up. It's less expensive.
I love it.
So not only is it less crowded. Who doesn't like a little bit of elbow room wherever you're headed? But the prices are cheaper. If you travel in the fall to Europe, depending on the week, it can be up to $260 cheaper just for your flight alone. That goes a long way. Domestic flights this time of year, let's call it $100 cheaper than if you're flying at the height of the summer. It's just easier to get around at your destination. You have hopes of that specific restaurant you wanted to head to. You want to camp out on the beach, you're going to have a little more room to do so. You can get that restaurant reservation you want. So it's the smaller crowds, it's the lower prices, depending where you're headed. I would submit to you better weather a lot of the times. So the list adds up.
So we know what months to travel for the off season. Let's just say we're in September right now. Let's just think that somebody is planning some kind of a vacation with their significant other, and they want to travel, say, in maybe January after the holidays. Where's a hot place, and I don't mean climate-wise, but where's a really cool, nice place to go at January in the off-season that you get a lot of bang for your buck?
The Caribbean. If you can avoid New Year's Eve, which is going to be that week is still going to be expensive, the Caribbean is fantastic that time of year. I'm not a weather expert, but you've kind of gotten on the other side of hurricane season. That makes a big difference. So you're on the back end of that. The temperatures are fantastic, depending on where you're headed from. That could be a relative statement. But if you think of your experience in Cancun in August, and you feel that when the airport doors open and you say, "Oh my goodness," you're going to have a different reaction to the Caribbean in the dead of winter when it's like, "Wow, I'm coming from a chilly spot to now it's 82. This is pretty all right."
If somebody wants to go overseas, like I mentioned earlier, that have a dream of going over to Ireland, what's the best time to go in that particular region when it comes to weather-wise? Is their weather the same as ours at the same time, or is it opposite?
Ireland's going to be chilly in the wintertime, I'll tell you. Having been there multiple times of the year, and it doesn't happen often, but it'll snow on you in Ireland, so you gotta watch out for it. And I'm here to tell you, they are not equipped to deal with that snow when it lands. So be aware of that. I mean, Ireland's chilly in the wintertime, and so is much of Europe. But as you head into the southern portion of Europe in the wintertime, that's still pretty temperate. So you actually have to be aware of that. The great thing we have now as consumers at our fingertips is the data is just, it's in our pockets. And you can set up price alerts on Google or on Expedia to say, hey, here's my destination. What's the optimal time to book? What's the right time to fly? What's the weather going to be? I mean, you can set up, to your heart's content, an absolute perfect data set to say, what's my budget? Where can I go for that budget? What's the weather going to be like? How much does a meal out cost? And you can say, I can afford to go here for this number of days. That's a lot easier to do for the average consumer now, with the cell phones we have and the internet at our fingertips. That previously would have required specialized knowledge of a travel agent. Now you can do it yourself and save yourself some money by doing it yourself.
Nice. I remember being in Ireland years ago in the dead of summer and freezing. So yeah,
in the dead of summer,
it's cold.
Did you prepare for that?
Not very well.
Oh,
but that's
boy.
Okay. I'm happy being cold. Hey, so off season, if you're like an adult who's into Disney or that sort of thing, I would imagine the amusement park experience is very different when you're in the off peak and most kids are in school. What's that like if you're going to Orlando or some other big amusement park destination?
The difference there is going to be the space. The price is probably going to be about the same. Might cost you less to get there, might cost you less to stay. Your ticket's going to cost the same. A meal's going to cost the same. So that's a big differentiator when you're going to something like that. If you go to a beach town in the off season, you can imagine a lot of the restaurants are going to have the local buy one, get one dinner deals and that kind of thing. So the off season opens up a lot of local deals, and some of the beauty, I'm sure you'd agree, with traveling is uncovering those local things that you might not otherwise stumble upon. If you go to a big resort, some of the prices are going to be fixed no matter when you go, but the thing you're going to get the advantage of is the one you cited, space. Fewer lines.
Nice. Where are you planning on going? Anywhere?
No, I'm not right now. No, I'm driving over to California in a week.
You got the folks over there then.
Yeah.
All right, not bad. All right, listen, Steve, I got to know, where are you going to next?
So we have holiday travel. We're here in DC, so my parents are at the beach in Delaware. My wife's parents are down on the Chesapeake Bay, so we'll be long weekend road tripping it. The rest is work conferences for me, which is not so exciting, but the idea that you can tack on a night of personal travel to something you're doing for business is ever increasingly popular. People can work from wherever they want these days. That makes things a lot better. So I am in road trip land here out of DC.
Hey, when it comes to booking airfare, is there a trick on what day to book it for like the cheapest? I've heard before, booking airfare on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, not necessarily flying on those days, but booking it on those days is cheaper. Any truth to that?
I don't think there's I don't think there's significant truth to when to book it. I think there's significant truth to when to take that flight. And so the trick is, generally speaking, the best day to fly domestically is going to be a Monday. The best day to fly internationally is going to be a Saturday. I don't think that there's much truth to this idea of, Tuesday mornings, that's 10% cheaper. I think if that hack was true, then everyone would do it, and then the airlines would adjust their pricing to overcome that. But I do think there's truth to when you fly. And the key here is set up a flight tracker. Take a look at when those prices are going to be the best. That data is absolutely at your fingertips as a consumer. And so I don't think when you book is going to make a big difference, but I think when you fly is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I've noticed, and this isn't scientific, but just from personal preference, I feel like flying on a Tuesday and Saturdays are less crowded. Not necessarily less expensive, but certainly less crowded. There seems to be more seats on the plane, and I think that has to do with the fact that people are already where they want to be. By a Tuesday, they're either back to work or, wherever they need to be. What do you think about that? Right. Tuesdays and Saturdays?
You're pretty close to that. So for what the industry would call volume, so the sheer number of passengers, right? Both domestic and international flights, Monday are the best. Tuesday's close on its heels. For international flights, there's less of a curve. They tend to all be about the same. As you get to the domestic volume, though, Thursday and Friday and Saturday are going to be your busiest days, and the price is commensurate with that. So again, if you're taking a domestic flight, most of us are taking more domestic flights than international, Monday, Tuesday is going to be your day, both to book and to fly. And then the time of day matters. Morning flights is something I would suggest to viewers, less likely to be delayed, less of an impact for that inbound flight coming in, having some kind of issue, and now you're backed up as a result. So fly in the morning, book and fly at the beginning of the week. You'll be doing yourself a favor.
I love those red-eye flights. I love taking off somewhere at midnight and just, if you can, sleep on the plane, and the plane is empty. Nobody likes to fly on those.
No.
Hey, I got a out-of-the-box question for you, and you may or may not know the answer. I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. What is the rule for middle seat passengers? Do they get the armrests or do they not?
I'm going to tell you, it's got to be shared, right? I'm going to say the middle seat armrest, you should get both, but you can't take up the whole thing. You can't be that person who claims it and doesn't budge. You got to be a friend to the stranger next to you. You got to give them some room. But I'm going to say middle seat passengers, they get them.
Steve, okay, we're going to have to disagree. By the way, the armrests are like a sliver, so there's nothing there to share. And you got the aisle guy who could kind of lean to the left. You got the window guy that could kind of lean to the right and sleep against the window. And, there's no real estate, as I say, in the middle. I mean, so I think the middle guy gets the armrest. That's my unwritten rule.
Yeah, see, I'm more concerned about the recliner. I don't want a guy reclining in front of me. I'm 6'4".
Oh, I was going to say because you're tall. Yeah. I'm 5'10". I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I got a problem with the recliner in front.
I had an episode with a guy coming back from Vegas. Thank goodness it was only a 45-minute flight. But this guy was all over the armrest, and finally, I kept on nudging him, and finally he said, "What are we going to do about this armrest?" I'm like, "You're going to go that way," because I'm middle passenger, okay, unfortunately. I tell
you are the guy who's going to make an issue of it in the flight.
Well, there was no. Listen, I didn't get tossed from the flight, and there was no episode. So it was only 45 minutes. So yeah, thank goodness. But it still kind of irked me.
Another reason to book early. Don't get stuck with that middle seat. That's a tough one.
Oh man, exactly. All right, hey Steve, listen. If people want to find out more about you or AARP, where do they go?
I would encourage viewers to take a look at AARP.org/save. It's very inexpensive to become an AARP member, and the savings are tremendous. Hotels, car rentals with Avis Budget Group. There's tours, cruises. If you use your AARP member benefits one time, you're going to more than pay for a membership. So head to AARP.org/save. Check out the value of it. It's really worth your time.
All right. Really appreciate you being on the On Your Side podcast, Steve. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself over on the East Coast, okay? Have a great weekend as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.